This is Tommy's Outdoors 42, and today's episode is another one dedicated to sea angling. This time we're going to talk about sea angling from the shore. And our guest is the man behind Irish Angling Adventures, James Raymond. I had a great time talking with James. He's like a hardcore angler, and we could spend hours and hours and then talking about sea angling and fish and catching techniques and rigs and so on and so forth. So if you're into angling or if you're into sea angling, this episode is a must for you. I don't want to drag this introduction for any longer than it's necessary. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, James Raymond. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
And maybe you just introduce yourself and what the Irish Angling Adventure is.
Yeah, it's basically, my name's James, first of all. I started Irish Angling Adventures 2 years ago, I think. Basically, I had to go in for surgery, and I was kind of always online. I couldn't get outside, so I was like, geez, there's nothing for fishing online. Like, okay, you have your Sea Angling Ireland forum, but there's no resources for people actively going out. It's just kind of questions and answers. So I was sitting at home and I was like, better start getting something like this sorted. So I ended up making a website, starting a Facebook page, starting Instagram, and just documenting every time I go out or when my friends go out, and just started like that, really.
Irish Angling Adventures. That's a big thing, right? So what year was it?
Oh geez, when was it? 2017, maybe the end of 2016, 2017.
Oh, so quite recently.
Yeah, it was recent enough, yeah. And
because I was like on Sea Angling Ireland. I was big there, but it was the year 2007, 2008.
Yeah,
maybe to 2010, and then I kind of. It was that time where, in general, those bulletin boards were big,
popular,
while Facebook was not that big. And then, like, the more people starts going in, that's what I noticed. Some people get like, there's a moderation, that message, and they start shifting into the Facebook because now everybody is in control.
Everyone has it, but the forums were great back then. Everyone was always questions and answers. Everyone was willing to answer. And then, as you said, it went on to Facebook, and people kind of started getting a bit quieter, doing, as I did, my own thing and putting up their own stuff. And then people just, that's my spot. I'm not telling anyone about this. And, it's great that people have their own spots, but it really got very tight-knit. People weren't getting outside their own little community, and it kind of went real quiet. And, like, Sea Angling Ireland, the forum, like, they are great. Jesus, a lot of resources on it. But it really has gotten very quiet, like, on it.
Really?
Yeah, but that's why, again,
I met a lot of great people there.
Yeah.
A lot of angling adventures. Going from out of that, and these are folks that I know to this day. Even one of the previous episodes of the podcast is with one of the guy. I'm saying previous, but the moment we're recording that, it's not yet online. But the moment people will be listening to that, it's gonna be already previous. So it was great. So you touched on one thing that I actually want to ask you. What's your opinion on people kind of being protective about their fishing marks?
It's
and sometimes it like I can understand both sides. You don't want all of a sudden like a bunch of blokes showing up on your mark, especially if it's like a small.
Yeah, that's the
but
thing.
then on the other hand, some people are getting completely overboard and it's like, delete that photo.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
I've had both of them. Look, if people want marks, I'll give it to them, but I'll never give them, like, okay, I've got marks that people I know have never fished, because I've spent weeks going down, making sure, okay, I can fish here. I can't. I've lost 200 euros worth of gear in every mark around here except for this one. And I'll spend a few weeks fishing them until I know it is fishable, and then okay, maybe I'll put up a picture, and people always find where the mark is from a picture, and you get people say, take that down, you can't fish there. And I'm like, no, like it's everyone's coast. There's plenty of fish there for everyone.
Yeah.
As long as there's no rubbish being left around, people can fish everywhere.
Yeah.
But like, you'll get to some marks and there's fishing line everywhere and there's traces and cans and bottles, and if you have stuff like that, I'll never tell people, because then someone else will come down and they leave more, and it's just it's a snowball effect. It always goes downhill. But a lot of people, if you know they're genuine people and they are genuinely looking to go fishing, oh yeah, they can go wherever they want. Jeez, I'll give them every mark they need. And again, if they're really interested, they're not going to make a show of it. It's going to be cleaned after them. They're going to take everything home. And,
I suppose this is what you said. You know, how are you gonna vet people who are because obviously, you know, you can tell, right? I can tell just by 5 minutes talking to you. I know, like, okay, he's a guy, right? I was like, there's no problem. You wanna go for I have a good mark, but then, you know, you have a guys who's showing up and they're, you know, like, for example, for bass fishing, right? I'm big into bass fishing, and like, you know, you see the guys and they're just taking every fish they caught, and there's obviously poaching, right? And then you don't want to do that, so it's always to find that balance. But you know, I saw the guys who are just editing, photoshopping photos. So there's a guy. It was like a very funny thing on one of the Polish angling forums. There's a guy with the catfish. And behind him are skiers in Sweden. You know, it's like, because he edited it.
I did something like that. We found a mark in Galway that's really good for congers, and one of my buddies put up a picture and you could clearly see where it was, and me and my other buddy were like, you can't do that, we've only found it, will you let it? So I ended up editing him into the Great Wall of China, and then he posted that. But it was just, it's funny. There are marks like everyone's going to keep secret, but it's just,
I heard somewhere that also depends on, you know, like, for example, salmon fishing community, fly fishing, they're much more open about their marks because of the more, it's not necessarily in Ireland, but because of their more regulated character of the fishery and distribution of the marks, and everybody knows where the marks are, and they know what are the limits, and it's highly regulated, so that kind of supports being open
it makes
about
sense.
where it is. While in case where like here, like we're talking sea fishing, where you actually have no regulation, and it's just good to go, you don't need a license, you don't need anything, then the level of the barrier of entry is very low, and you're just kind of like, okay, like now anyone can just show up and you know, fish with a hand grenade.
If people just had just respect, that's literally all they need. Just respect for the environment is obviously one, but like they leave again, like people, like if they snap up, say, casting or something, or they get a bird's nest in the reel, they just cut the line, they just throw it down, and like you just take it home, it goes in the bin, or the recycling. It's very easy. And or people drinking bottles and cans, or even the bags of bait, you'll find them all over every single beach in Ireland. And it's just people not thinking, oh, if I just take this home or bring it to the bin 20 yards up the road.
Exactly.
Oh, it's just mad.
Bring your rubbish with you, lads. But you know, it's unfortunate because, you know, I always see anglers as almost like a conservationist, or like people, and this is like a big thing for the podcast when I'm trying to kind of bridge that gap between people who are, you know, on one extreme of the spectrum, you know, animal lovers in air quotes, and then sportsmen, you know, hunters and fishermen, and it's a very difficult relation because there's quite often adversarial relation. Which I think is very unfortunate because both groups
love
are
animals. Like, there's
the same thing. But having said that, on both sides there's a lot of work to be done. And like in case like you're saying about anglers right now, like basic stuff. Don't leave rubbish. Don't leave like a plastic fucking bags with bait or anything like that. Because it's then it's like, oh, these damn, you know, anglers.
Someone will be. The worst thing is something. It's a lot of the same nationality get blamed for it all. Like I don't want to sound bad, but it is always Eastern Europeans. You always hear people saying, "Oh, they're always leaving stuff." But geez, it's not like a lot of Eastern Europeans like are always they're very respectful for it, but. You'll have a lot of Irish fellas, and I don't want to sound very bad, but there's a lot of scumbags do a lot of fishing, and they're worse than anyone I've ever seen. Like, you'll have barbecues left everywhere, cans. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I know. I've been
It's
like,
crazy,
I've seen it up close, so that's unfortunate. And listen, tell me, what's the main type of fishing that you're doing?
All sea.
Yeah, but I mean,
there's
are you doing spinning as well?
Everything.
Okay.
Anything. I'll fly fish in the sea, I'll spin, I'll bait, I'll flow fish, everything. As long as it's in the sea, I'll end up doing it.
Okay.
But this freshwater stuff, I might do the odd bit of fly fishing in a stocky lake if I'm bored or if the weather's not great. But no, it's always the sea. Everything I can get my hands on out there. Like I'll always have, in the back of the Jeep, I'd always have 2 or 3 beach casters, all different weights, and then a load of spinning rods, and just ready for anything.
I'm asking because by looking at your Instagram page, and this is actually how we get in touch through Instagram, and folks, it's at Irish Angling Adventures with underscores between them. A lot of great photos over there. The majority of the photos are like with the beach casting rods.
Yeah, most of them would be, but it's probably, I suppose, the majority of my fishing, just because. Big baits. I'm not a fan of small baits. Okay, there are certain marks that will, but it's always big baits. And just because we're out of the winter, it's always there. So you can't really, you can spin it for bass in the dark, but you'll always get more on the bait. I always find, unless you got the certain marks that'll have.
Do you think that the beach casting and surf casting are like a different types of angling, or is it just? To
me, it's all the same.
It's just
as long as you're whacking baits out, it's beach casting or surf casting or rock fishing, whatever you want to call it. Once there's bait being thrown out, it's the same thing to me. You're just always picking the bait and picking the rigs for what you're trying to catch, and it's just the same thing.
I have a question again. Since we had the vocabulary, what's your take on? What's the difference, and is there a difference between angling and fishing? Because you're specifically using the name angling.
I say angling. It's more of a, how would I say? It's more sport orientated. You're not really taking the fish. It's you versus nature. Whereas fishing, I find, is just someone's going out catching a fish and taking it home and eating it. Like I don't eat fish at all. I don't like fish to eat at all. But I go out just for the sport of it. Right. Just go catch the fish, take a few pictures, take lengths, and send it free again. So that's just what I think angling is. Now, everyone could have a different definition of it, but angling to me is just the sport of going out and getting fish.
Yeah.
And conservation, I suppose, is a bit of it as well.
My friend explained that to me, that when they're going on the boat and they have a beers and barbecue, it's fishing.
It's a bit more recreational.
And then when they're going like a focus and there's this target species and this is this particular gear, like that's angling. It's
that sounds right anyway to me. If I was relaxing, sitting down having beers, that would definitely be fishing, not worried what's happening.
Whatever. It's like, what's the deal with light rock fishing? It was a big thing.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Tell us about light rock fishing.
It was something I only got into maybe a year or two ago, I think.
Really? Yeah, it's still a thing.
It's huge.
I thought it was because I was first introduced to that. It was maybe 2010, 2011. And then I thought it's just was the second, but I said, I lost the touch with it.
I think it's still very popular because you have if anyone listening is on Facebook, there's a competition that's run between Ireland, England, Wales, and Scotland. It's the shore and boat competition, and it's a species-driven competition.
Yes.
And on that, everyone light rock or LRF fishes for all your, you have so many species that people don't even know about that are at your feet literally in most places. And then once you bring out small hooks and small weights and little tiny bits of bait, it's crazy the amount of fish that are literally at your feet in all these marks.
That's what I thought. That there was that the start of that was all on those species driven competitions. Who can catch more species, right?
Yeah.
And then by going by those tiny fish, after those tiny fish, you opening like a whole new chapter.
It's a different sport nearly. It's great the way you have to think about it and the marks. You could go down to any beach, and if there's a rock pool, I guarantee there's 4 different types of fish in it. And you'd never think it. It's crazy. Even Phoenix now outside, which is one of the most popular marks down here. You get corcoran, wrasse, herring, lawns, all your different types of gobies. There's crazy amount. And you'll see fellas throwing out mackerel feathers for 3-4 days and getting nothing. Whereas if they put down a small little sabiki rig, they'll end up getting fish every single cast.
Yeah,
it's just such a different sport, and then you end up using really light rods. The Shakespeare agility is half a gram to 5 gram casting weight. And if you get a pollock on that's 6 inches long, it's like catching a 10-12 pound bass. It's amazing fishing. But it's one of these sports that came over from, I think it's Japan it was developed in.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was developed in Japan, and then it slowly made its way to England. And sure, once it makes to England, it'll always start coming over to here then. But yeah, geez, it's great crack. And all your little blennies and your shannies and gobies, they're just characters. I don't know how to put it. Like, you get a shanny and you'll have it in your hand, and you'll take a picture, and he'll just roll over and bite you. Like, he could be in there for the last 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh no, I don't like you anymore. He rolls over and bites you, and they're just all great characters.
Yeah.
And like, I have a big saltwater tank at home that if I catch a fish, I might bring it home, and I'll keep it there for a few weeks, and then I'll release them again, because you'll see how they act in the tank, and it's just the symbiosis between, or not symbiosis, but the kind of community between all the small fish and all your like shrimp and stuff. It's just it's unreal looking at them.
Yeah. I was always kind of skeptical about it, because those fish are so tiny.
Oh yeah.
So that was something that was kind of putting me off, because I don't know, it's probably me, but I like kind of physical aspect of it, right? So I was like absolutely crazy about shark fishing, right? And all these things. I was like, it was a big fish. And it was like, oh, okay, so I never really got into that.
Yeah.
But you're right. You have such a variety of
like
fish.
Even like if you get like, we'll just say a blue shark. Okay, he's blue and white. That's it. You get a bass, he's silver and white. They're all kind of two-tone. And then once you get down to the mini species, the colors in them are amazing. Like, if you ever see it, is a reticulated dragonet. It's like a sandy color with these bright bands of blue through it. And like, they look tropical. They look like fish that you'd find down in the Caribbean. And they're amazing. And even your Corcoran wrasse, they're all these multicolors. They're such beautiful fish.
Yeah,
but people's never catch them.
Wrasse is absolutely
they're
amazing.
Crazy. But like, everyone's, your bass, your sea trout, whatever, they're all the same color. And then once you get down to these minis, the colors in them are amazing. Like.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's what's great to see, like, just the variety that's there even.
And you're fishing, are you fishing like mainly kind of like a pylon, so like some artificial structures?
Oh no, Jesus. Well, the LRF stuff is very handy at like all your piers and like Phoenix, your pylons and bridges, because you've so much access to it. You don't have to walk, you just park and just out of the back again. And then especially with your piers, because especially if it's a working pier, there's so much bait being thrown into the water from the fishermen anyway, that there's going to be so much life there.
Yeah.
But then you get out to some of your more remote rock marks. That's when I've found, like, if anyone's ever seen a scorpion fish, I think they're one of the best looking fish in the world. They're so crazy looking. But like, if you're at a pier, you'll only get them, they'll be an inch, 2 inches long. And then if you get out to more remote places, you get them nearly a foot long. Like, it's just crazy what's there. It really is. But most of my fishing, I'd say, is off of remote marks. I have my marks in my bag that are always kind of, if I go there, I get this, this, and this. But I love, as the name suggests, for Irish angling adventures, I love getting out and trying to find new things. I'll walk for 3 hours to fish for 10 minutes and be like, okay, that wasn't worth it, and to walk all the way back again.
But then you probably, another thing is that you need to do that 3 hours walk, like 25 times. To actually find out what is the right tide and what moment and right time of the year.
But it's not even like, I'll finish work and I'll sit in the computer and I have 4 websites always open. I have Google Maps, the GeoHive, the OSI maps moved over to this one. There was coastal helicopter photos taken in 2003 of the whole coastline of Ireland. You just click through them all. And then Navionics web app, it shows you all the depths. And I'll have 4 of them open every single night, and I'll just slowly scroll through. Okay, that looks nice, I can get here. Okay, now what's the coast look like?
So you do a lot of scouting, like online.
I'd say 90% of before the fishing is scouting, and then tying a few rigs and stuff. But it's definitely a lot of looking at marks.
Yeah.
And then chatting to people as well. Like, you'll always, like, I have contacts all over the place, and everyone will have another contact that you can, have you fished here? Oh, I haven't, but my buddy has, and then they'll tell you. But it's all, it's a lot of scouting, a lot of getting information for it.
Oh, but that's a thing. So your preferred, like, so what's your preference finding new spot? Because, like, let's be honest, finding new spot is a lot of work. And a success is not guaranteed.
No,
and
you can not.
Right. So how you making a decision between going to the known mark?
I like the unknown. That's the thing. I like.
Okay.
What could be here?
So is it like, are you losing interest in the mark? You go in, there's a great spot, and you're fishing like a bucket loads of fish. It's like great, and you go for after one, say like, nah, I'm not going there anymore.
No, that was too easy. I have to struggle for a little bit. But it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of marks like you'll fish and you're guaranteed these few fish. but what's around the corner? Oh, I don't know.
Ah.
Let's find out. Like that's I love doing that.
Yeah.
Just trying to find marks that no one's fished, and especially marks that are rough fishing. I love fishing heavy ground because you literally don't know what's going to be there. Like if you could pull out a skate or something, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But I could be fishing.
Well, what do you mean by heavy ground?
Or like real heavy or rock ground, like you're going to be losing a lot of gear.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of big heavy like kelp forest now and stuff like that. You're not getting a lot of gear back.
Yes.
But if you get one rig back with a fish that you've never caught or a big fish, it makes everything worthwhile at the end of the day. So it's just...
And it's also probably marks that are very difficult to get to.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a lot of... Like even I have a caravan, me and Tommy were talking about out in Castle Gregory, and Mount Brandon, you can walk out to Brandon Point or drive out.
Yeah.
Me and my girlfriend decided to walk up Mount Brandon one day, and I had a fishing rod in the back just in case I saw a mark I could walk down to. So we walked for 3 hours up over the mountain, and I was like, oh, but I saw on Google Maps that there was a spot down here I might be able to get to. And she was like, oh, not again.
I love it. The guy hiking up the Mount Brandon with the fishing rod. Like, what you doing? Like, well, you never know. I may see the good mark.
It is. That's the thing. Like, you could go anywhere now. Oh, geez, you can get down there.
You're like a really hardcore balls out.
Addicted. I always say to my friends, heroin would have been cheaper, but I'm addicted to fishing.
Probably, it could be right. I'm just going to adjust your mic.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. No, you're good. All right. Oh man, that's really amazing because I know this is like a special kind of people who are like so addicted. You know, and I get like. I know one of the friends who said like he got so much tackle and so he bought like a shelves, like a rod holders that you have in the tackle shop. And then we're talking with the other guy, and he said like, I saw like a John's, house. He has like a little tackle shop, and the other guy says little, like there's many tackle shops. I would be jealous about all the gear that he has.
My house is like that as well. And what's worse is I still live in my parents' house, and I had to buy a shed. My room is full of gear. The shed is full of gear. My Jeep is full of gear. There's just gear everywhere. Absolutely. And they hate it. You have to have it though. That's the thing. You just have to have it. If you end up fishing so much, buying in bulk is so much cheaper. So you're going to have loads of stuff everywhere anyway because you bought €100 worth of swivels or something. Yeah. But now you have swivels for 10 years.
Are you doing any like a cleanup? Because this is what I found. Like sometimes you're taking these boxes of stuff, and it's like, okay, I never used those lures in the last 5 years. I'm probably not gonna use them again.
But it's nice to have. That's the thing.
How's your packing because I noticed there are two kind of schools of packing gear for a fishing trip, and I'm always the guy who takes minimum. I'm taking like one or two rods and like just the lures, and I'm mainly doing spinning fishing. So I'm just taking like a few lures that I know, that I trust. Yeah. And then you have a guy who is just getting on the boat and he's putting like boxes and boxes.
I certainly used to bring everything, including the kitchen sink. I used to bring everything. Like you'd have 40 kg on your back, like walking around. And then I ended up the box. I used to bring everything. I had a Shakespeare team box, and like they're huge. There's no need for it. And I used to have like.
I was like a sitting. It was working like a place to sit.
Box.
It was a seat box.
But I also brought a backpack with all my spinning gear in it. So I had so much gear, and then you'd have a box full of weights in the seat box, and you'd have like, we just say if I went beach fishing, you'd have kind of 6 ounce weights, 7 ounce weights. But then I'd also have a load of half or 1 ounce weights, 2 ounce weights that I'm never going to use, but I'd have them all in the box just in case. And then one day I ended up breaking that box because I had so much stuff in it. And I was like, geez, I'm going to have to start rethinking this. So then I ended up going to bare essentials. So I just bring a rig wallet with all my rigs. I bring 4 or 5 lures, and then a measuring mat and maybe 6, 7 weights. And now there's nothing in it. But I certainly had to really think, okay, you don't ever use this. Just leave that at home now.
Yeah, and especially when you're going into the marks that you're just doing rock hopping, or you have
lightness is needed.
Those sharp rocks and so on. I guess with a stationary fishing is not that
It's
big
not too bad, yeah.
But when you're spinning and
you need lightweight stuff. You just need to be able to move around that a little bit easier. But like spinning now, if I'm doing a serious rock mark, I just bring a backpack with 5 or 6 things in it. Yeah. And I keep it as light. What's most of the weight is water. Just trying to get to these marks is sometimes tough. Yeah. But yeah, I'll bring a backpack with just a handful of things in it, maybe 4 or 5 weights, because after that, that's a 6-7 euros worth of gear lost if you end up losing it. Yeah. You don't want to sit there and lose another 5-6 euros. So you just head away. Yeah. So yeah, any of them marks there, that they're a bit tougher to get at. Yeah. The bare essentials is all you bring. Like I won't even bring a camera with me. I'll just bring the phone. It'll just do the job. Yeah. But it is tough.
and listen, and you prefer like a marks who are, well, I don't know whether you prefer, but you kind of guy who goes in the mark and is like a whole day mark that you fishing,
not really.
or is it like I'm there like a 2 hours before minimum or 2 hours after minimum, because sometimes you have a place where you got to be at a certain stage of the tide, and then there's like no point being there. But then there are marks that's like I say whole day mark. Yeah. So you can bring your food and you fishing the whole tide.
Yeah, it really depends. Like some marks, if I am going out trying to find new ones, I could end up spending the whole day. But again, if you start losing rigs, you're like, I'll come back a different day, a different tide. Like we fished a mark now yesterday that on low tide, even mid tide, we couldn't reel in. Every time we reel in, we were getting stuck on a rock. And then from high tide above or from mid tide above, there was no issues. So like you just have to figure it out. Like if you don't try, you're not going to figure it out. But then you have obviously some marks where if I just go 2 hours before, it'll be perfect, and then after high there'll be nothing, or after low. Yeah. So you just have to figure it out slowly. Like if you don't get out and do it, you're not gonna figure it out. That's the thing.
And like you said, if you need to take like a 3-hour hike to this spot, it could be whole day fishing mark anyway, regardless how much time you're actually spent fishing.
It certainly could be. That was just, you have to play the game. Like if you don't play the game, you're not going to win.
But would you say that in general? Would you agree that in general, oncoming water and floating tide is a better result?
No, not at all. No. Every mark is completely different. Some marks will fish on the incoming, some will fish on the outgoing, some full low, some full high. It literally depends on the marks and the features. Like there's a few marks around here, you can only fish them on low. Once you get to the high, you can't even hit some of the marks. And then again, there's others, if you don't fish it on a high, there's no point in being there. So it's just, it all depends on what market it is. And again, local knowledge and kind of going down and survey. So that's one thing as well. If you can get down to the market at low tide and you can see all your sandbanks, your rocks, you're like, okay, I can see where to fish now at high tide. But then one thing I do as well is I'll do a lot of snorkeling. So if like some places out now in Castlegar direction, I'll snorkel out and I'll see, okay, there's a rock here, and a sandy patch here. And then I'll pop up and I'll be like, okay, if I cast here, I can get a fish here. There's a lot of them. But then again, if you don't try, someone could tell you, this place only fishes 2 hours to high. But if you fish it, but he's probably never fished it at low tide because he's always been told fish it at high.
That's another.
So you just have to try.
That's another thing. These are like a self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
It's no point fishing on the high water here. Have you ever fished in the high water? No, because this is not worthy. Of course, you're not catching anything.
Yes, that happens a lot. Like it really does happen a lot. Like, it's people getting into a mindset. Oh no, it doesn't work. They fished it once at a certain time. Oh no, it never works. But I fished it here once and I caught a fish at high tide. Oh, you can only fish this at high tide. Yeah, it's just the way you have to do it. If you don't try, you're not going to know. Like,
you might have been lucky in the worst phase of the tide ever, and now you're stuck with it.
Yeah, like even yesterday, there was 4 of us fishing on a mark yesterday, and 3 hours in, no one had a fish, and then all of a sudden, I got 2 fish and 2 casts, and none of the other lads had a fish. So they could have been thinking, oh no, this mark is useless at this time of the tide. But then as soon as it got over half tide, I had 2 fish instantly, like literally one after another. But then it stopped then again. Now we didn't get anything else for the day. But you just have to try. That's the main thing. Getting out, that's probably more than anything.
Yeah. Do you have for our listeners any tips on safety? Because obviously, especially like when you're fishing like a heavy ground, like you mentioned.
It's something I've started thinking about it a lot. I've had a lot of, not close calls, but I've fallen quite a distance off of some marks onto rocks and into the water. So I bought a life jacket there last year. Just one, if I fall in, it'll just inflate itself.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing is don't get cocky. Mm-hmm. You need to know your limit. Like I've been doing it for so long. I kind of, okay, my limit's probably above other people's. I know, like I do a lot of bodyboarding and swimming, so I can kind of read the water a little bit better than your average person. I used to do a lot of kayaking as well, so I can kind of read the waves. You figure out the sets of the waves, and especially
and you know the water. You feel comfortable in the water.
I'm very comfortable in the water, but like you still don't want to fall in. But a lot of rock marks, I'll never go with a set of waders ever. I've fallen into a few lakes with waders on, and it's tough getting out when they fill with water. Like,
that's it.
And a lot of surf marks. Like if anyone knows, like your surf beaches in Kerry, like Inchim, Fermoyle and Stradbally, you can get 6-7 foot waves instantly. Like you could be standing there in no water, and all of a sudden 4 foot of water comes in. Yes. Like you really need to be smart about what you're doing. You need to look around, be aware of your surroundings is a huge thing. Like one of the marks I fell off of, it was my own fault. I was standing on a rock and I went to jump, and when I jumped, a rabbit jumped out from under the rock and scared me, and I missed my footing, and then fell 10 foot into the rocks down at the bottom. And I was like, oh my God, if I just stepped down and walked around, it would have been easier than trying to jump across it.
Yeah.
But yeah, life jackets, if you're doing any marks, especially on your own, because I do a lot on my own, a life jacket is essential these days.
Yes.
There's so many stories of the RNLI going out for fishermen who've fallen off rocks. Just buy a life jacket. You buy them for €50, and you can get cheaper ones if you want to, but like a decent one. And especially if you're getting a life jacket, get one that's for your weight. Like they're all rated for certain weight limits. Really don't be like
150 newtons.
Yeah, it's kind of a good average.
Is a minimum.
Yeah,
and it also depends what clothing you have, because like you mentioned, if you have like a heavy you fishing in the winter and you have like a heavy gear,
it's going to just sink.
Then you probably need to go for 375.
But I suppose you won't sink. You're not going to be able to swim. Like if you fill a set of waders with water, you don't sink. You just don't move. That's the problem. The waders might bring you down a bit. You're going to struggle to stay up, but you're not swimming anywhere. You basically have a parachute of water with you.
Yes.
You're not going anywhere. But with the life jacket, at least you're up. You're not struggling to stay up.
Yes.
And they're visible. You're going to have whistles on them. Well, I'd advise getting a whistle at least, but a lot of them will come with a whistle. And they're luminous, like orange or yellow. So you're going to be seen straight away.
Yeah.
But especially like waders, what color are they? Dark green. Like you're not going to spot that against the water.
And it's surprising how like if you're in the water and it's a little bit of a swell, it's like you couldn't see sometimes. Like when you're boat fishing, sometimes the whole boat is kind of disappears.
And then it appears.
Yes, exactly. And that just but it's you made like two very important points. One is about the life jacket, where people often say, like, well, they thinking about the life jacket as a gear that you need when you're on the boat.
No.
But then actually not really. And the other one about the waders. That waders can be deadly with filling with water, and like it's just terrible, and people don't really
like that. At least if you really are wanting to go waders on rock marks, get a belt for it. Like just tie them as tight as you can around your waist. So at least if they do fill with water, it's only maybe the top half a foot is going to fill, and at least that gives your legs are going to be buoyant.
They're not going to fill that fast. At least,
exactly. So at least wear some sort of a belt or something. But definitely get, if you're doing anything with waders near dodgy marks, definitely get a life jacket. There's no. The last thing you want to get, or your family want to get, is a phone call that he fell in and we can't find him. That's the last thing anyone wants.
And on a life jacket, it's one thing I want to point out that, like we mentioned, 150 newtons is, I think, the minimum. Anything else is a buoyancy aid. It's not really life jacket. It's a buoyancy aid. So like don't go for cheapest option. Get, like you said, get an option suitable to your weight. And suitable to the gear that you're.
But then wearing. Like you can pick one up for €50, and it's going to be a bit bulky. It's going to be a bit heavy. If you pay more, you won't even notice they're on you. Like.
Yes,
that's the big thing. And like I only picked up one there recently. I had to pick it up. It was a water snake one. It's all ventilated at the back. It's just a self-inflating. I can refill the cartridge when I need it. So it's ideal. It's okay. It's not lightweight, but
I even saw one guy. He had like a life jacket and fishing vest
Yeah.
in one. So it's like
Yeah,
a fishing vest with
lot
a
of-
built-in life jacket.
Yeah,
and then it's like
a lot of the guys now that would do a lot of trout fishing on boats. All their fishing vests are all life jackets as well.
yeah.
Like,
I think
ideally suited.
that's a great thing, because when
Yeah.
you have a life jacket, you're not really gonna be wearing
vest over it
your
or something.
vest,
Yeah.
because if you put a vest under,
It's not going to work. Right.
you're not gonna reach any pockets,
Yeah.
and if you're gonna put on top of that, that's just stupid, because
Yeah.
it's not gonna inflate. So don't do these, folks.
Yeah,
Don't do
oh
this.
geez, you certainly don't. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of safety stuff coming out in the market now, and especially Henry Gilby, I think last year did some sort of a campaign with the RNLI showing people. There's videos on YouTube if you want to look it up of him falling into the water with waders on, and he has a few friends that all jump into the water with him with waders, and they're like, "This was stupid. Like why did we do this for years?" And then they have the life jacket on, and you can see them. They can all swim to the bank. They can get out of the water. It's just you need to be smart about these things.
Yeah. And then, did you have any tips on like a safety in relation to weather or tide or anything like that? Did you pay attention to that?
Weather. Well, in the weather, I really won't go out or a force 4 wind. I'm not sure what that is in kilometers or meters per second, but force 4 is kind of a limit. Like, you're not, if you can't cast into it, there's no point in being out.
Yeah.
And then if it comes to like cold or extreme heat, just prepare. You're not going to sit in the beach in the middle of December at -2 in a pair of shorts.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to layer up and stuff, but the weather isn't too much of a factor, I find, just because.
Oh, really?
We're so close to like, okay, if you were traveling for 4 days to get to America and there's nobody around, yeah, you'd need to be really concerned. But there's a pub around every corner with a fire or a hot whiskey or something. It's not as a concern, but
yeah,
if you're feeling cold, obviously get a hand warmer or just layer up or something.
Yeah.
But tides is a big one. I've gotten caught in a few marks that have
you been cut off?
Yeah, you don't realize that there's a bit of a gully behind you. It actually happened to us yesterday. We didn't realize the tide was so high, and now it was only a foot deep, but it was fine. But yeah, you kind of pop here like, I guess we're here for the day.
yeah.
Or there's one mark out in Clahan, actually. If you've ever fished Clahan Estuary, the sand is very soft.
Yes.
I went out there 2 or 3 years ago. The tide hadn't dropped low enough, and when I was walking along like that, instantly I dropped to my waist. And the only thing that kept me up was my seat box.
Seriously?
So the sand was still wet underneath, and the top layer was dry, so I thought it was fine. And when I stepped on it, this wasn't quicksand. This was lightning sand. It just completely went straight out from under me.
Whoa.
And I sunk straight to the seat box, and the only thing that kept me up was the seat box. And there was 3
Holy
guys
crap.
up to my right fishing, and they had to come down and pull me out. I've never experienced something like that. And since then, I don't go to Clahan unless the tide is well out.
Really?
It was scary. Like, I've never been in a situation. I've never seen a
We'll
situation
talk about it,
like
because
that.
that's a point I quite often fish. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that place.
Oh, it's an amazing spot.
The channel is I found that the channel, I usually fish the channel. The channel is changing after every year. After every winter.
It goes left of the rock, right of the rock. It's always changing. Now there's a big sandbank up to the right that I don't get what's going on there.
Right.
But
that's a good way to discourage people to go to your mark. Like,
Scare
there are quicksands there, lads. You don't want to go there.
Even that's not. Clahan isn't far from the car park. Like, when you're walking, but geez, you get into that sauce and it is a trek to try to get through it. Like, your calves and your thighs be burning and trying to walk through that. But yeah, geez, that day scared me. I was very nervous after going back there the next time. Like, I was obviously going to go back, but I was very careful about walking across, and I was sure to have a seat box on me, because who knows what would have happened if I didn't have the seat box. Like, I could have sank all the way.
Yeah.
And that would have been a place I'd never worried about safety.
You know what? I thought, now I'm thinking, like, there are those even in your Garmin watches or devices, you have this and live track, which is for cyclists and detection. Like, that's actually can be quite useful for angling as well, because because that brings me to another point. Was like, when you're going out, like, tell somebody where you're going and where you're expecting to come back, because, like you said, like, at least somebody will try to find you, rather than you go fishing on Friday and then on Monday at work.
Jeez, I haven't seen him in a few days now.
Why he didn't show up to work? Right?
Especially, definitely have a phone with you. Without it, have a phone with full charge. Even if it's not for taking pictures, it's just handy to have in case anything goes wrong. And definitely put it in a poly pocket. I've lost a few phones now.
Right.
Definitely put it in a waterproof pouch with not poly pocket, but a Ziploc bag or something, just to keep it that little bit.
Yes.
'Cause even if it's torrential rain, like you lose a phone quickly if you're not watching it. Yeah. But tell someone. Jeez, you have to tell someone.
Yeah.
Even if you're just bragging, at least someone knows.
I mean, like every like a serious hardcore angler I found had some of the close shaves.
Oh yeah,
that's like a mildly scary.
But it's gonna if you're cycling and you're heavy in cycling, you're gonna have a close shave with a car or something at some stage.
True.
If you're big enough into a sport, you're going to end up getting into situations you probably could have avoided.
Yeah, and especially that you're dealing with nature, with the sea.
Yeah.
And this is really serious stuff. Listen, James, tell us about your fishing trip to Vega Island.
Oh, Vega, jeez, that was
that
was an experience.
Walk us through this, because this is in Norway.
Yeah, this was
Norway is like a mecca for fishing.
Yeah, absolute mecca. But it was a trip of a lifetime and one of the worst trips I've ever been on at the same time. Wow. It was amazing. Well, we started, there was 4 of us going. We were going to go for 7 days. It was one of our buddies ended up chatting to a fella called Ian Peacock. He's an English angler who sets up all these kind of trips around. And he was chatting to him, and eventually he told us Vega Island would be a great spot for our first time. It's a spot nobody really shore fishes. Like the Norwegians don't shore fish really. It's all boats, because everyone has a boat up there. They can all just go out. Yeah. So this spot isn't fished from the shore regularly at all. There's a few English anglers go up there, and I think we were the first Irish up there, maybe second or third group to go.
Pull that thing a little bit.
Sorry. And so we decided to book it for 7 days. The 4 of us went, and 2 of us had never. Myself and my buddy Ian, he'd be in a lot of photos on the Irish angling side as well. We'd never been abroad fishing. Like, we're still young. We're only 25, 26. And we said, yeah, geez, we'll definitely go. Now it was a bit expensive. It's about €1,000 for your flights, your accommodation.
Right.
Now where it all started to go wrong was Dublin Airport. So we literally this first step. So we had everything packed. So you have your rod tubes, you have everything, and we went up to the desk and we were checking in, and the woman at the desk said, "Oh, you have to go check the rod tubes in over here."
Yeah.
Because they're oversized, you just have to check them in over here and come back to us. But leave all your gear here. I'll check all the rest of it. Yeah. So we went over, paid for rod tubes, came back, and the girl we were dealing with was gone. There was another girl checking our stuff in. So we just carried on with it, and she gave us all our labels, which we didn't know until we got to Vega that the labels were wrong.
Oh, Jesus.
But we checked in. We were delighted. Me and my buddy, we gave all our carry-ons. They said there was no more room on the plane for carry-ons, and we were delighted because we had to catch 3 planes.
Yes.
We were like, oh, we don't have to deal with these now for the day. So we gave them all, and that was great. We sat down in the pub, got in the plane, flew to Amsterdam. So it was Dublin. The flights were Dublin to Amsterdam, Amsterdam to Trondheim, Trondheim to Brønnøysund, and we were told we don't have to collect any bags until we get to Brønnøysund, our very last destination.
Okay,
that was a lie.
I can see where it's going. I can see where it's going.
But as well, we only had 45 minutes between flights. So when we arrived in Amsterdam, we had 45 minutes to get from one gate to another. And if anyone's been to Amsterdam airport is huge. 40 minutes is tough. We ran.
Yeah.
But we got on the flight to Amsterdam, delighted, got into Trondheim. And then we got into Trondheim, we asked one of the staff, oh, do we have to collect our bags? And she said, yep, every time you come into Norway, your first time, this is a tip for everyone, the first time you land in Norway, you have to collect your bags and recheck them in. So we were like, oh, great. So we went, stood at the carriage. Now, we had only 40 minutes to get the next flight, but Trondheim's a nice small airport. It wasn't too bad. And all the luggage went around and around and around and then stopped. And we're like, oh, maybe she was wrong. Maybe they're going all the way. So we assumed they were going all the way. One of the buddies had to recheck in. We got to the flight. And then we asked another staff member who's checking us onto our board or doing the boarding gate. She said, no, you were definitely meant to collect your gear. Like, it has to be collected the first time you enter Norway. And they rang the baggage. Baggage said it never made it on the plane. And they were like, look, just go to your final destination and get it sorted.
And then we'll
there.
figure it out.
Yeah. So we then got on. So we had two kind of nice sized planes, and then we get in like a 20-seater plane, and it was a small turboprop, and it was the first time I've ever sat the wrong way on a plane. It was so small. But we got onto this little airport in Bronnysund, which is the same guy does check-in, he waves the planes in, and he does the baggage. This is how small this airport is. And we were waiting and waiting. He eventually came to the window, and we said so there was 10 bags in total missing. Everyone's gear was missing.
And they never made it to Norway.
Never. So when we were chatting to him, he said, "Oh, let me just check where they went. Oh, 7 of them went to Abu Dhabi.
What?
Yeah, and 3 of them are in Amsterdam." And we were like, "What the hell?
What's the Abu Dhabi like?
We have no idea.
What airline you were flying?
KLM.
KLM.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like we're a good airline. They're a big airline. Like
just careful.
Yeah. Oh, it was crazy. But they said, "Oh, the 3 bags. Look, they won't be on. The next flight won't be until tonight. So we'll have them 3 bags with you tonight. The other 7, we'll do our best." That's all they could tell us.
Okay.
So like, okay.
So
look,
at that point, what you were missing?
everything. All I had was the clothes on my back and my phone and my wallet and passport. That's all I had.
Oh, okay. That's not good.
No, it's not. But we were kind of like, okay, the flights were so close to each other. We kind of expected not to even get fishing the first day because we had to figure it out. We had to get there.
Yeah.
So then we got our rental cars, did a bit of shopping. It was an hour drive to the ferry.
You had to buy like a clothes.
I was confident they were going to get all our clothes. So I was like, I'm fine with the stuff I have on me for one night. I'll get over it. But we got on the car, or we got the cars. It's an hour drive to the ferry. Then we took an hour and a half ferry to the island, and then it's another 20-minute drive across the island to accommodation. Now, Vega is a beautiful place. It's even Norway's a beautiful place. I've never seen landscape like it. It's crazy. But we got to the house or the accommodation anyway. We were kind of just getting our bearings, looking around. We were driving to a few of the marks that we were told, and we were like, okay, tomorrow now we have a job, or we kind of have a plan. So Charlie, who was with us, all his bags arrived the first night. So he had everything. He was delighted. So he had all his rods, his clothes, all his rigs, everything.
Even though he never collected them.
It all arrived. They flew, or not flew, but they put it on the last ferry that night, and it all came to us that night. Oh, okay. So he was lucky. He had all his gear the first night. Wow. So the second day, we were ringing them. Eventually they said, "Oh yeah, we found 6 of the bags out of the 7 that are missing. They should be with you either tonight or tomorrow morning." So we're like, okay, at least we have
something.
Yeah. And we went fishing for the day, and unfortunately, we were all using Charlie's rods, and my first cast with Charlie's rod, I snapped it in half. So we were down an extra rod, including all of our other rods, and I felt so bad. But it was good. We got a few kind of cold fish and cod. Now, nothing was crazy. Like, the cod we were getting up there were maybe 4 or 5 pound, which is kind of a good cod here in the winter. But up there, they don't even care about that. But we were delighted, yeah. And then maybe your kind of 4, 5, 6 pound cold fish. So we were happy. Still getting our bearings. We were still trying to figure it out, marks. And then we got a phone call saying they lost the bags again. So they didn't know where they went. Oh, so apparently they were coming back from, I think it was Abu Dhabi, or maybe it was United Emirates. And
it was all courtesy of KLM.
KLM, yeah.
Oh, lovely.
We came up with a hashtag that I'm not going to say for all our posts that day, but we weren't happy with KLM. They really kind of did the dog on it. Yeah. But they lost all our bags anyway again, and we were like, great. So we were ringing the insurance company to see if we could do an abandonment, because we had nothing, no clothes, no gear, nothing at all.
Yeah.
And we went back to the house. We sat down, we had a few beers. We were like, okay, we'll wait another
Calm down.
Yeah,
let's figure it out.
Then next morning we were ringing. Eventually they said, yeah, your bags are on the way. 6 of them out of the 7. And we were like, okay, we'll deal with 6. Look, if the rod tubes arrive, we're good. I was saying I don't even care if my clothes arrive. I just want my rods and my reels.
Of course.
Yeah. So we went fishing that day again with the few rods we had left from Charlie's collection. And that evening we got a phone call. 6 of the bags are on the ferry. They'll be at the house soon. So they were apparently all of mine, all of Alan's, and 2 of Ian's. And Ian was worried because he had a few €1,000 worth of reels and gear, and he was like, "Oh no, if I lose these now, this is going to be shocking."
Yeah.
So the taxi arrived on the 3rd night. So we had 7 days there, and on the 3rd night, the taxi arrived with all the gear. Well, minus 1 bag. And when I opened the bag or opened the boot, I realized it was my bag that was missing. Okay. So they checked in all our gear wrong as well. So everyone's name was on a different bag.
God. So they got everything they could wrong.
So then that made it even more confusing when we were ringing them. I was saying my bag's missing, but it's actually under Ian's name, and it's under. It just made. But anyway, all the bags right. It was like Christmas morning there. I think there's pictures of us ripping open the bags, changing clothes, getting the gear ready. We were all set, but thankfully all our rod tubes arrived, all our fishing gear arrived, except for my one big bag with all my spinning reels, all my clothes, all my wet gear, my fishing rigs. So the only clothes I had with me were the few jumpers I had in on the carry-on and the clothes I had on me. So I still apologize to the lads, but the smell off of me. And I was trying to wash my clothes, and I was going around in like a towel and just a jumper for a while, just trying to stay clean.
Yeah.
But it was utterly, and unfortunately, I had only one pair of shoes on me. And the first day, I fell into a puddle of blood that we just gutted the fish, and I fell into it. So the smell off of them was horrible. But it was fine. After that, then we got into swing things. We had all our gear, so we were hitting it hard. It was long days fishing, like early or late to bed, early up, straight out. And it was good fishing that we had. Now, it wasn't amazing. Like, you see people have pictures of like 20, 30 pound cod and all this. Yeah, Norway's not like that. Norway can be like that, but it's decent fishing. Now, we were in the cabins we were in, there was nine cabins there, and all of them were all people fishing. They were all kind of Austrians and Germans, but they all just did boat fishing. Yeah. And they were saying the fishing was shocking. They weren't getting any fish at all.
Really?
Whereas we were coming back we could get 5-6 cod each a session. Oh. And they weren't getting anything out in the boats.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was crazy.
What was the reason? Do you know?
They didn't know. We went up in August, which wouldn't be your big fishing time. It's warm up there. It's nice. It's very comfortable. Yeah. But they had no idea. There wasn't a lot of fish being caught. But we thought it was amazing. We were getting fish constantly. Yeah. But we specifically went up to get halibut. The halibut in the summer come into less than, I think it's like 10-20 feet of water, and every mark up there is 60-70 feet anyway. But a lot of locals were telling us they boat fish in some of the sandy patches up there. The halibut come in chasing crab, and we noticed if we had thought of it before it, but every cod we caught was full of peeler crab. Absolutely stuffed to the gills of peeler crab, and that's what the halibut were chasing. They're in eating peelers. But we fished a few marks, and we had one mark that we were really interested. It was like, how would you even put it? We were fishing from the island, and there was a channel maybe 100 yards across, and then another island. But the channel was a deep sandy channel. So we're like, okay, this is where we'll get halibut. This is the mark. And we were fishing there for the entire day, losing rigs. It was so rocky, right down our feet. The current was so tough. It was trying to get stuff in. But Ian ended up hooking into something. It could have been a boat for all we knew, the speed it took off with. He hooked into it, and Ian was using a Ziplex M4 Evo, and he's a Daiwa Saltus HSH 30, which are significant gear. Like, it's you need something big to be pulling these, like, and it doubled over, and screaming off the reel as it went out. And we were like, what the hell is this? And it stopped, and he got one or two winds on the reel, and it just wasn't moving. And he was like, oh, it's stuck. And then the rod just kind of nodded once or twice, and then and just couldn't stop whatever he had hooked into.
Wow.
And that put the fire under us. Jesus, all the rigs were changed. There's big fish here. Like, we never saw what that was, but we know it was a halibut. We know the size. We have no idea. Right. So the next day we went out.
Did it break off?
Oh yeah, there was no stopping it. Yeah. Absolutely no way of stopping it. It was crazy power. I've never seen a fish.
So you tied in the drag, and then the line.
Oh no! Tightened the drag up to where it was. If you've ever fished with heavy drag, you can hear the line pinging as it comes off the reel. Yeah. And that wasn't stopping it. And then the fish went down, and we think it went down. There was like an underwater ledge, and we think the line just broke off. It didn't break from too much drag. Okay. And but that really lit a fire under us. We were like, oh my God. I can imagine that. We were getting sick of all the cod and coalies at that point. But the next day, then myself and Ian decided to hit a different mark, which is, we called it the salmon cages. We were fishing right next to a salmon farm, and fishing there for a while. And then I saw my rod go, and I was like, oh, I have a decent cod here. My God, was it not a cod? It was 114 centimeter halibut, about 40 pound. Now, we were so happy. First halibut I had ever hooked or ever caught. But it put up a decent fight for 40 pound, like a good maybe 5-10 minutes getting it in. So we can only imagine how big Ian's was on the way. Like, it was crazy. But it was an amazing spot. That was the biggest fish we got. We went out in a boat a few times and got kind of a few cod, but it was actually in Norway. Norway last year, I didn't get any mackerel in Ireland. I only got them in Norway. I have no idea how. Like, but fishing up there was great. The weather was great. Unfortunately, we didn't see the northern lights or anything, but it was amazing. So this year we ended up booking it for 10 days. So we're back in September now for 10 days.
Oh, lovely.
The 4 of us that went last year are going again, but there's 10 of us or 9 of us going this year. But anyway, to finish the story, on the way back, the last day we had everything packed. My bag still hadn't arrived. I forgot to mention that. I still had no clothes with me. So the last.
But after that halibut, that didn't matter that much.
No, exactly. Yeah, I was like, I deserve this. I'm still in here. I'm smell off of me. We needed the halibut to really lift our spirits. But it was great fishing. We had a lot of big dab, a lot of cold fish, a lot of big, not big, but 6 kind of 7 pound cod, and a lot of lure fishing from. On lures, they were great. It really were like. But the last day we were heading home, and I was still ringing the insurance company trying to get my bag sorted. They said I could only spend, was it €50, I think, as an emergency fund. So all I bought was a set of socks because it's expensive in Norway for anything else.
Yeah.
And we were heading home anyway. When we got to Bronnysund, this is how small this airport is. All our tags were on the bag, and I asked the guy at the check-in, can I get something to cut him off? He went, yeah. He threw me a knife. In the middle of an airport, he gave me a knife. And then I looked around, and Vega's a big hunting destination for deer. And there was guys sitting in the airport with their guns out, checking their scopes, making sure. And I was like, this is weird. Like, I've never been in an airport where I've been given a knife by staff, and there's guys around me checking guns. Like, this is how small the airport was. Yeah.
Oh, these are these stories. I just love these stories.
We got in the flight then again, back to Trondheim. And when we got to Trondheim, we had a 2-hour wait before we get back. 2 hours was delayed to 4 hours. 4 hours was delayed to 6 hours. And we had now missed our flight from Amsterdam to Dublin. So we were going to be stuck in Amsterdam.
Okay.
The flight they handed out then food vouchers. Now the voucher.
And why the flight was delayed?
They said there was a puncture on the plane and no one was there to change the tire. So we were stuck in this small airport. Everything was closed. Everything was closed there. And we were given food vouchers for the value of, it was 1,500 kroner or NOK, or I can't remember the currency, but it was basically about 11.50 euros. A sandwich was 12. So you can only imagine how angry I was, smelling the way I was. Flights delayed, missed our connecting flight. A sandwich was €12, and all I had was 11 in a voucher. So, but eventually we got in the flight back, and we got to Amsterdam, and our flight was missing. So they told everyone, look, if you've missed your connecting flight, go to the service desk. And I'm going to be sorry for the language up here now in a second, but we got to the service desk, and the woman said, not my problem, I'm going home, with 20-30 people who had missed all their flights. And I told her, if she doesn't get back into the fucking desk, I'm going to kill her. Because again,
how did that go on that airport?
She got back in and she called a few people. And
did someone handed you a knife on that airport?
But she eventually got us sorted. But then she told us, I can put you on a flight tonight, you on a flight tomorrow, you can get one in 3 days, and we'll see if we can get you on one tomorrow as well. So there was 4 of us all going to be split up over 3 days of flights.
Oh, God.
And I was like, I'm not, like, he's my lift home, so he has to come with me. He's his lift home, so he has to come with us. And I was like, Charlie can do what he wants. He drove himself. So, but she was like, oh no, there's no flights, or there's no seats available in tomorrow's flight. So we took up booking.com.
And it's all KLM.
Yeah, all KLM. KLM are the worst airline I've ever flew with. They did not help us anyway. Yeah. But unfortunately, we have to fly with them this year again. But
okay. I was going to ask.
They're the only one that do the flights to where we're going, unfortunately. So, but she told us, she was like, there's no seats available in tomorrow morning's flight. No, there was seats available at the 6 o'clock flight. but the 11 o'clock was booked out. So I opened up booking.com or Kayak, and I went, no, there's 6 seats available. It says it here. And she was like, oh, that's not on my system. And I went, okay, can I get them seats? And she went, I suppose. So then she booked them, and I went, oh, and also, where am I staying tonight? And she's like, you'll have to go to someone else. I was like, Jesus. They thankfully booked us into the Hilton Hotel in Amsterdam for a night, which is an amazing hotel. But we had to argue so much to just get what we needed. And still my bag was missing. That's what was really getting to me. And it was, what, 600-700 euros worth of gear, and it just gone.
Did you ever get it?
No, it's still missing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had to go through insurance to get it all back. And the annoying thing is KLM lost the bag. Everyone knows. KLM even know they lost the bag. But I had to claim it off of the company, the last flight, Widerøe. They're like, for all the world, Air Aran. They're a small little company. And I had to claim through them. And they were the nicest people to deal with. But I felt so bad claiming the money off of them because KLM had lost everything. But I had to claim it off of them. So I got all my gear back. Well, I got the value of all my gear back, thankfully. And I had to buy all the new gear. But it was a month or two getting this sorted, so I had no spinning gear, I had all my rigs, all my wet gear. I just bought Guy Cotton wet gear, which isn't cheap. I just bought it. It was still in the plastic, and I never got to use it.
Oh god.
But we eventually got home, and as soon as we got in the door, we were like, okay, when are we going next year? Even though it was such a bad holiday and such a good holiday at the same time.
That's the thing. These good things.
It was bad in the sense of the traveling, but the stories out of it were just amazing.
Oh, because that's where this is like, I heard that when you going through the experience that suck, but it suck at the moment you're in.
Yeah, but then
usually
when you look back,
most good stories. Like, I remember this time when they lost all our bags and we were all stinky and all that. And these are these stories. So then you like it.
It's an earned happiness, I suppose.
It's an earned happiness. I love it. I love it. Oh wow! So you're going back this year?
Yeah, we are going what is it? 20th of September. We're going for 10 days this year. Right. So it's a little earlier than it was. Or was it later? No, it was earlier, than we went last year. We kind of went the end of September, October, I think it was actually last year. But we're going the 20th to the 30th of September this year. And we're bringing an extra 5 lads with us this year.
Right.
So it'll be interesting, but I'm going to go hell for leather now. We know where to fish. We've tested a lot of the marks. Yeah. So exactly what's going to work. So again, this is the adventure side.
You send your gear... before, but I know that this is what a lot of lads are doing. They're packing their, there are companies who are like for bikes or for guns, especially, they're saying like, okay, I'm going to be, cycling, or I'm going to be hunting in that destination, and you giving them gear and they making sure that the gear is there waiting for you.
Thankfully,
So that's one option. I know that a lot of people does that. Or just on your own thing, if you know the guy, just use DHL.
Yeah, thankfully DHL, Alan's sister-in-law works at DHL, and she can get it all for us cost price up there. But we have to send it 4 weeks before we actually get in the flight. I don't really want to not fish for 4 weeks before.
Oh, come on. You have so much gear that you surely will find something. You go light rock fishing.
But all my gear comes... I had so much gear. Like, I had stuff I couldn't even use because it would have broke on all the fish up there. But I was like, I'll just bring it just in case. But I know better for next year now, I think. But we can send all the gear through DHL. I think we can pack it all on the pallet and get rid of it. But we have to send it 4 weeks before we go, and then we have to wait 4 weeks to come back. So that's you're nearly 2 months without most of your gear then at that point. So I might send maybe the heaviest of the gear with them, and then bring just the carry-on and the rod.
And just a change of clothes.
I know this year I've been telling the lads, this year I'm wearing all my clothes too. I'm going to put the boots on my hands. I'm going to wear all my wet gear. I'm not losing it again, but lightning can't strike twice. That's what I'm hoping. I got the worst of it, so it can never happen again.
Now it's going to be smooth sailing. I'm sure. I'm
hoping so.
Listen, much. we might do podcast when you come back, and maybe with a few of the lads. Once that go. Listen, before we wrap that thing up, I just want to ask you a question. Like, what's your observation in relation to state of the sea and state of the fishing? We hear a lot that it's getting worse and worse, and overfishing, and then now apparently climate change have also some sort of a compounding effect, whether whether species can't cope with the temperatures
Yeah.
or acidification, or is it just the population displacement? They're moving somewhere else.
It-
What's your observation over the
Overfishing
years?
is certainly made a huge impact. Like as I was saying, I didn't catch a mackerel in Ireland last year. I got 3 or 4 in Norway. Like, who the hell doesn't catch a mackerel in Ireland? Like, they're plague proportions. So, but I didn't get one this year or last year. Like, overfishing is definitely taking an impact. Climate change, okay, there's a good and a bad side of it. In the summer, we're getting species now that we never got 10 years ago. Like all your gilt-head bream and stuff were never here 10 years ago. But now,
I know that 10 years ago were these little triggerfish in Dingle, and they never showed up since. So I was
there's a lot of triggerfish. There's a lot of marks down southwest coast now. You get a lot of marks will have triggerfish.
Oh, really?
Resident nearly.
Oh,
but
wow.
even down in Cork, you have.
We're gonna talk about it after the pond.
There's even Ross Carberry down in Cork. It's a big mullet fishing. Like anyone who fishes for mullet knows Ross Carberry. It's big mullet. There's resident gilt-head bream now staying it. Now they're small, they're juveniles, but geez, that never would have happened before. Like it's just it's staying that little bit warmer. Yeah. And like you have all your Mediterranean species kind of slowly starting to make their way up here. But yeah, the climate thing, I don't think it's had much of an impact. Now there's different species, but I don't think it's made much of an impact. Now, again, we're kind of situated perfectly that it's not too warm, it's not too cold. We're kind of good. Now, if you went further south, maybe it'd have an impact, but we're not too bad. But the overfishing definitely has had an impact. Like the one thing I really don't like is, now I don't eat fish, I don't take fish, it's catch and release for everything. But bass fishing, now you're only allowed to keep, one for 6 months of the year, and then you're not allowed, it's catch and release fishery then for the rest of it.
The whole last year was catch and release only.
But the anglers aren't the ones making the impact. Like if you catch 2 fish, it's only 2 fish. If a boat comes out and nets 1,000, like
it's in tons.
It's tons. You're not looking at 1 or 2 fish. Like, it's overfishing is definitely, like, I've reported a few fellas that I've seen netting too close to beaches. And then you have, like, I'm not too political, but like you have these super trawlers that are coming in. Like there was 4 of the 7 biggest super trawlers in Galway Bay last year. Like, geez, like you can't have that stuff. It should be policed a hell of a lot more. And you have, like, Monkstown in Cork is a big cod fishing mecca in the winter when the cod are in. But as soon as the trawler lads, and I know I'm going to get flack for this, but if you get enough people fishing the wall in Monkstown, a trawler will just go up. He'll see all the fellas fishing, know there's fish there. He'll go up, net the whole thing, and then that's it for the year. It's done. You can't fish there. There's no fish. It's ridiculous. Like there is a fair bit of overfishing, but like a lot of it also gets shipped away. Like there's a lot of, like, for an island nation, we don't eat fish. We really don't eat fish. We're kind of slowly getting into a foodie revolution, I suppose, and we're slowly starting to eat a bit more fish. But it should be our main diet. But all our fish gets exported, and we're like the only country, I think, that sell quotas. Like I think Spain have a huge amount of what our quota should have been, and France have a huge amount.
Really?
Yeah, we've sold a lot of our quotas because we don't have that industry. We're not a big fishing. Okay, yeah, you have like your Killybegs is a big fishing industry, and Dingle have a few trawlers and stuff. But we just sell it. We have such a big ocean, not landscape, but we own a hell of a lot of
waters,
the Atlantic, and okay, we can't fish it all, but we're just letting people just take it from us.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
And like the Irish, like if you think the Irish government give a lot of grants to farmers, but there's nothing really put into the fishing. Like it's, even though it's just as economical. Like it's a weird kind of way.
All right, and so do you think that it's inevitable that it's going to be worse and worse from year to year, or do you think that we can? I think
the impact is starting to be seen. Like the Irish fisheries, I think, voluntarily cut their quota. So the quota for mackerel this year was, we'll just say, 100 tons. The Irish government or the Irish fisheries said, we'll voluntarily remove 20% of that. So we'll reduce our quota even more, because if they're seeing an impact and they're knowing, oh Christ, we have to reduce it.
Really? That's very interesting, because it's not commonly known fact, because usually fishing industry is portrayed as, you know, they're those who destroying everything. But
they're
now
definitely
you're saying,
starting to see, like, oh Christ, we're making a bit of an impact now. Like
really? But that's a good news.
Oh, it's good news, but is it too little, too late? That's the big thing. Is it too late for it? But even I've chatted to a few of the lads and trawlers. They're blaming. So this year I think was the biggest year for bluefin tuna in Ireland. There's been more bluefin tuna around Ireland than I think in last I don't know how many years.
Yes, but that's a shift in the population.
No,
distribution.
there was meant to be bluefin tuna here. Like they're meant to be.
But what I'm saying is that the fact that they're all of a sudden appeared is not so much that they're recovering. There's just a displacement or distribution change.
There was a theory, or what would you call it? The trawler member saying, "Oh, there's no fish here because the tuna are eating all the fish."
Oh my god!
Yeah, you're like, no.
My god!
that's not right.
there's always someone who comes up with like.
There's always something that. There's always something that. Oh no, Jesus, not us at all. It has to be something else.
Yeah, I'm telling you, these are tuna, seals, and cormorants.
Yeah, well, no, the cormorant one I kind of agree with. I've seen that there's a lot of cormorants. Like even if you're driving from Limerick to Clare. Just before you get in the tunnel, if anyone ever drives that, look right, all the trees are dead because there's so many cormorants living on them that they've killed all the trees. But like, I think there's a cormorant cull coming into effect soon. I think they're going to kill a few thousand
already.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes an effect.
So what predator is a natural predator for cormorant to control their population?
I don't know if there is one. I suppose mink could probably be one.
Right, maybe.
But
that's interesting.
I don't think there is an.
If anyone knows, leave a comment.
I suppose mink could probably be the only one, and probably only the chicks. I don't think anything would eat it. They're a big bird, like
they are.
But like the seal one, I think it's in Scotland. It's starting to happen. There's seals coming down from Norway. Orcas coming down from Norway targeting the seal populations in Scotland, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, they've found a new food source, and sure, there's nothing that eats them around, and these orcas now are starting to come down, target them, so they could end up coming all the way down. Like,
wow,
yeah, it's
that'd be nice if orcas in Ireland.
No, you see them regularly enough if you're out. Well, not regularly, but they're seen often.
You can see.
Yeah, but they're just chasing kind of shoals. But Jesus, they start taking seals, it'd be interesting.
Right. Listen, so tell us, just to wrap it up, for the recreational anglers, what can they do to, in your opinion, to kind of make the situation better, or impact like in a positive way, fish stocks and everything else?
I wouldn't even start with fish stocks. I'd start with one thing I've started doing is anytime you go fishing, just take rubbish back with you. Even if it's not your rubbish, there's going to be rubbish there. There's always rubbish. Just take 4 or 5 things back with you. And there's one of the lads in Cork. He runs Irish kayak angling. Timo. You might have seen his post. He was down Roche's Point in Cork, and the amount of plastic bottles he picked up. You don't even have to bring anything to collect these. It's on the beach. He just got a piece of rope that was laying on the beach and just kept tying bottles to it as he walked on. And he must have had 30, 40 just plastic bottles. And he was just down with the kids. They were playing in the water, and he had so much rubbish. But if you could just take 4 or 5 bits of rubbish with you, just if everyone does it, the beaches will be spotless soon enough.
Exactly.
And then I suppose, that'd be probably the main thing.
That's a good advice.
Just take a bit of rubbish with you.
It's a good advice. You can make an impact in
like
any
you
way.
Hear of all these microplastics in fish. Just if you take it off the beach, it's not going to make it into the water.
It's going to be less. All right, listen. It's been great talking to you.
And you, thank you very much.
Host of knowledge. Is there anything else that you would like to add to our listeners? Maybe something that you wish we talk.
The one thing I set up Irish Angling Adventures for was to try to get people out fishing. Like, people don't know how to get out. You could buy a rod for 10, 15 euro and just go off any pier. You're going to, if you just cast out a bit of bait, you can buy all the bait in the fish shop. Like 20 quid will get you going. And you're going to catch fish. And always ask people. Always, you're going to have to ask a few people questions, or even get on some of the forums and stuff and ask questions. Oh, is there anyone heading out? And someone will always bring you out.
Yeah.
So if it's trying to get people out fishing, and once they get out fishing, they'll start getting into nature. They'll start getting, maybe going hill walking. They'll just, once you're outside, it's better than sitting inside playing Xbox and watching TV all day.
Absolutely. James, thank you very much.
Thanks very much for having me. Thank you very much.